Thank you so much, Father Desbois. He has kindly agreed to take some questions from the audience. Please state your name. Tell us very, very briefly where you might be from, if you're affiliated with Georgetown, for example. And please ask a short question so we can hear our distinguished guest. Questions?
Yes.
Father Desbois, thank you very much for what you're doing and for your presentation. And I'm getting through your book, and I just wanted to ask one of the things that was very striking to me about the counts in the Ukraine in the course of researching the book. One theme that comes across again and again is that many of the people you interviewed said that for 3 days the mass graves lived, and that many of the Jews who were shot still were alive when they were buried and covered with other bodies and with soil. And I just wanted to ask, have you come across any cases where people, maybe at night after the Einsatzgruppen moved on, that people went out and tried to save the lives of people who were buried alive, their neighbors, or in some cases they say their friends? I just was curious because I've not gotten through all the book, but I've just wanted to know if that has ever come across, because it was striking, at least as far as I've read thus far in your book. I don't recall a case like that.
Yeah, it happens. We don't meet them frequently because you imagine when you go out of a mass grave, you don't build your house near the mass grave. So most of these people run away from the country and are in Israel or in America or elsewhere. But we met a few ones, and I remember Nina. She was 4 years old, and she was sent in a truck. She was half Jew, as he says. Her father was Jew, and her mother was not Jew. But it was enough to be killed by the SS. And at the moment of the shooting, one old lady, suited in black, fell on her. And so she was a child. She fainted. And she realized in the night she was still alive when the fresh air of the morning circulated between the corpse. And she was naked, full of blood, and she succeeded to climb out of the mass grave with the roots of the trees. And she went out. She was alone, of course. It was a night, and she saw light in a farm. And so she went directly to knock at the door. And the family was a Ukrainian family, didn't denounce her. They take her at home, they washed her, they gave her something to drink. And after, they tried to know if the family was still alive. And they found the grandfather was still alive. And so they were hiding her in a box and carried her on a cart with horse to the grandfather. And I will never forget, because I asked her, did you see back your mother? Because your mother was not Jew, so she was not killed. And she said, no, I could never find her back, but people told me she was crazy now. Yes?
I'm from Lithuania. Have you met people, witnesses, who participated in the Holocaust in Romania or Ukraine or Moldova?
You mean in killing?
Yes, yes. Who could confirm that they or their fathers or uncles participated in?
Yes, who confirm that family participated, yes. You must, in some region, before the Germans arrived, they let what they call pogrom happen, but sometimes the Germans were behind provoking the pogrom. But in one village, yes, some people accepted to tell me that, in fact, it's the people of the village who kill all the Jews themselves. You will be surprised. It's not difficult for people to say their family killed Jews, because it was legal. But it's absolutely impossible to make them say if they took something. It's easier to say they killed Jews because it was legal under the law of the Third Reich, but it was totally illegal to take even a spoon. So I estimate that they still stay in what was legal at that period, what was not legal. It's not difficult to find people like that. Yes, it's not difficult. But I'll always say there were collaborators, there were etc. But the heart of Holocaust was in Berlin. As I say, Himmler, Heydrich, Hitler were not Romanian, Lithuanian, and that. And I don't think if the heart of Holocaust was not given by the German, I don't think you have collaborator when you have killers. So I am not the one to put the bad light on these countries because I never forget the heart was in Berlin. And without Himmler, without Heydrich, it's the first time a genocide of the Jews happens. I don't mix pogrom and genocide. It doesn't mean I don't see the guilt, but I work with Germans always, and Germans recognize they did the genocide, and they did it.
Do you plan to extend your work also to the Baltic states?
Yes, we will go in Lithuania. We have been asked, if you were in a foundation, I will tell you, we miss the money, we miss the people. And it's true, but suddenly I said that to a foundation, and the foundation says we bring the money. So we will make Lithuania. We are building actually a Lithuanian team. And I'm ready to confront a very special challenge because first, it's a Catholic country. And I'm used to work in Poland, so even if we don't near each other, it's a similar mentality. And they are very strongly accused to be among the killers, but I'm ready to discover. I discovered so many other things. So, but we will begin, and we are building actually a Lithuanian team. I don't work also for the victim of the communism. It doesn't mean I don't recognize them, but I cannot do everything. I'm not a politician.
I'm Stan Weiss. I'm visiting from American University. What I find most difficult to fathom, and I hope you can help me, is these are people who would call themselves religious. And yet, when circumstances permitted, they acted in ways where they were murdering their neighbors, and there didn't seem to be any real concern or guilt. Yeah. And I'm only an experimental psychologist, but I don't see, how that can be reconciled. And I'm just wondering, I'm sure that you had to attempt to give this some thought, and I would appreciate
you are right. I never saw guilt since I work with that. Very frequently, there is one question: do you confess the people? I say, and I said to some people who don't know really Catholicism, because when you confess with 11 people and a TV, and me, I think, after having interviewing more than 3,500 people, but unfortunately, there is an archaism in humanity. In the 20th century, with Freud and that, we always discovered the sexual archaism is also very strong. But I think that if you are in a country where suddenly it's legal to kill a part of the population. Legal, it means you can take the house, you can rape the girl in public, you can kill the family in public, and you can go back home the same evening, and nobody has to bury them. It's legal because they are this group. I think when you decide to make such a crime, you will never miss workers. Me, I always say when I am in France, if suddenly in France they decide, we say we have too many blacks or too many Arabs, so for 2 weeks you can kill them. Me, I would leave Paris at the minute because I would never know if I will be a victim of a killer. Because the people I meet in Ukraine or Belarus, they are normal people, like you, like me. I don't think if it's a family of killers, they have awful face, big eyes, and no, nothing special. And they didn't kill after the war. After 45, they didn't go on killing the neighbors one by one. They did it, it was legal, and suddenly, without never have been learning how to kill, they kill them. Me, I think I say a human being knows to kill like a dog knows to swim. You know, I have a friend, he has a very funny dog, you know, this small Yorkshire, but you care like a child. And one day he passed near a river, and the dog jumped in the river and begins to swim. And he was very surprised, he never learned. I said, but the dog doesn't need to learn to swim, he knows to swim. And unfortunately, I think humanity knows to kill. I think in our ancestors, long time ago, perhaps 1,000 years ago, we were part of the game if we are here. You know, I am in Europe, everybody speaks the same language in the same country. Where are the others? In France, everybody speaks French. I don't know if you know. But if you study the story, they didn't speak French before. Where are they? Well, I studied in story in the church. You speak of the barbarian who attacked Rome. Where are they? Where are they, all these people? So we didn't call it mass crime or genocide because there was no human rights, etc., etc. But I think the mass crime is part of history and sometimes has been considered as a step to modernity. We kill this population to make progress. Thanks to the Jews who fight to keep the memory of the victims, who built museums, who built teaching, who built encyclopedia. They say, no, we stop. Now we remember the victim and we force you to cohabitate with the victim. That's normally not the case. But we didn't learn from the Jewish genocide. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Now we see, and we open the TV. Think tomorrow about me. Open the TV. Look at the news. I'm sure that this night or tomorrow morning, a bomb somewhere, a killing somewhere, we only listen to the number, today 30, oh, today 200, today 50. And I think unconsciously it's part of humanity. It's a pure analysis of me. But I met so many people, you know, and with different education. Some were Christian, some were anti-Christian, some were Orthodox, some were Catholic, some were Muslim. At the end, killers are killers. And we always try to say, that's a bad group. But at the end, we are part of the group. And I mean, you know, when I speak with people from Rwanda, because when you are in Soviet Union, people say, oh, the bad Ukrainian, oh, the bad Polish. But I say, in Rwanda, there is very few Polish. But for that, it's why I think we have to treat the disease. But to treat the disease, you must name the disease. And when I speak to young people, I say, if one day you are a journalist, if one day you are a doctor, social worker, military, in a place where killing are legal because it's a war, be very careful what you become. You can change suddenly. You can change. Because what makes me think it's not why they became killer, it's why they stopped when the war was finished. In Germany in 1946, you have not a wave of killing. People kill each other in the street because they are used to shoot. Why they don't do it? Because the game is over. It's no more legal. So what makes people say it's finished?
Hi, I'm a child of two survivors, and I'm sort of amazed that if those people were fine with the killing at the time because it was legal or whatever, that after this many years, when, you know, you would think people reflect on life, that they wouldn't see that there is something wrong with it. And not only that, you know, I mean, Jews make so many contributions to the world. I mean, I don't understand why these people don't understand it and see that their life is bettered by it. I mean, if these people are still living in houses without running water or electricity or whatever, then I guess, you know, they're sort of living in the dark ages in my mind. I mean, no progress, no change, but, you know, anti-Semitism is drumming up again in Europe, and it's very frightening to see. I mean, some governments in the different countries are espousing that same kind of rhetoric. And I guess in your work, maybe it's just too tricky for you to interject something when you're speaking with these people. But it just seems to me that leaving them with some thought about what they've done was not really a good thing. God doesn't think that's a great thing that they did. Maybe, I don't know, I'm an eternal optimist, but, you know, maybe if a few people are forced to think again about what happened, that maybe they could have a conversation going, or, you know, whatever. It's just very difficult for me to see, knowing, you know, what happened to my parents and their families, and my life being affected by it.
I understand, but you must understand, we work on such a territory where nothing has been established. When we arrive in some village, it's a village of this man is typical. He's in a village where 1,100 Jews have been killed. He's the only witness that we found. Of course, there is no memorial. There is nothing. And nobody knew where it was. So my only question, I have half a day, because we drove 3 hours on an unasphalt way to arrive to the village. I have half a day, because I must come back in the night, to try to know where are the corpses and who did what. And I agree with that, with what you say, but I'm totally focused on to establish the facts. And also that the Jewish family who are now surviving somewhere can know at least what happened, because in this village there is no archive. So this guy decided to speak. His wife, who is witness also, is absolutely upset that he speaks. So she tries to stop the interview many times. It's to tell you the atmosphere. So me, I'm totally neutral in this case. I show me like that to be ready to listen. This guy still carries a symbol of Soviet. He's really still communist, and he says that very simply. We are in Russia. We are in Russia, in East Russia. When I speak to you now, I am in Caucasus. So you are very far from Western Europe. It's my only luck to know what happened to the Jews. He finally decided to go. He told me it's not far, but it's a Russian way of speaking. It was 4.5 kilometers on foot, and in this mud. So you have him, he grasped to the branches not to fall. You have my cameraman, you have a German volunteer, you have a translator, you have me trying not to fall down, and my bodyguard. 4.5 kilometers without one word, because in Russian, people of this generation, they don't make use topic. Finally, we arrive to the mass grave. His first jest is to collect flowers, because these flowers are named immortel. I don't know how you say in American. Immortal. So I don't know, it's the 5th time I saw that. They collect immortal and they offer to us. And after, he begins to imitate the dead that he saw, because the killing site here is the Walloon. And when he arrived, all the adults were killed, but not the children. They were bleeding and dying and pushing the fleas like that. And so he imitates one by one the dead people that he remembers. He speaks, it's a long interview. And here is the mass grave. A beautiful Walloon. In this Walloon, 1,100 Jews are buried. I say that because you must understand the difficulty of the task. We arrive in a village which is very far from everything. We have only a few lines in archive. He's the only witness. His wife doesn't want him to speak, so I know if I let one night, he will never speak anymore. So I have the full day to interview him, and that's it. We try to grasp the truth before they die. And it's the only thing that we can do. She was alone in her house. She's not anti-Semite at all. She was in a cornfield working with her mother. She never spoke. And suddenly they listen noise. And they see, it's to show you what was the genocide. They see a range of German units with the carabine, killers. In front of them, a range of policemen, local police, with spade. After, a range of Jewish children naked, and a range of parents, Jewish parents naked, and the mass grave behind. And suddenly, they see the policemen with their spade would jump on the children to cut the children in pieces with the spades. A part of the children jump out and grasp their father and mother and say, "Father, mother," etc. The Germans say, "It doesn't work, go away," they said to the police, and they shot everybody. She never spoke. She was totally traumatized. First time she speaks. She's a poor lady in a family in the middle of a village of Russia. So it's to tell you the challenge that we have today. People are old. The truth is frequently hidden in one person in the village who absolutely never spoke and will speak. It's such a trauma. We make the interview, we check the mass grave, and we go. Don't forget that when we make interview, we have 2 or 3 bodyguards.
I guess I should ask you the question, even though it creates problems for the church. Were you able to ask what the ministers and priests of the villages did during the pogroms and the killings?
Yeah. It doesn't harm the church, because you must realize that 90% of the territory where I work was Soviet. So churches were closed, the synagogue were closed, and the religion was absent of the screen. I don't say that if we work in Poland or in Lithuania, it's another story. But in Soviet Union, since many, many years, the church were already out. And most of the Germans, when they arrived, the killers, they reopened the church. And so people are happy, because the church is open, and a few weeks after they kill the Jews. So I found very, very few testimonies. When I asked if there was a priest in the village, always the answer is no. There's no priest since a long time, because they say of the revolution. So you must understand, I work in this territory that we didn't work before. It's really the Soviet territory. 90% of my interviews are in Russian. I will give you an example. One day, so we decided to go to the Mass. And we know it was an Orthodox Mass, but you do what you can. So we went to a monastery in the city. They say, "Oh, we don't say Mass since a long time." I say, "Come." So people told us that there is a big monastery, but there is a Mass. Today, I mean. And we understood in this monastery was nearly empty. There was also no Mass since a long time. So they made a Mass specially for us the day after, but we realized they didn't do it since a long time. you must realize that Soviet Union is not a paradigm. It was really a reality with also other problems that I don't treat, but for the religion, it was totally out of the screen. So I have only the testimony of one priest present at one execution among 3,500 testimony. It's not to treat the subject, but where I work, it's Soviet. In some countries, 90% of the witnesses are from family who had the card of the Communist Party. Only people who know Soviet Union know what it means. It was the same for the Jews, where synagogues were closed. Don't ask where was the rabbi, and don't ask if the Jews were eating kosher. It was forbidden, and you went to Siberia for the same reason. But I don't work on this part. But you must understand, I had to learn soft cause, cold cause, NKVD. I can all the terminology of the cold cause, brigadier, still Soviet. That's my terminology. That's the people I have to check with in the city. Example, if the guy told me my father was a still Soviet, it means he was managing the cold cause. So I have to see the cold cause and the killing. It's totally another world. Yeah.
This really isn't a question, it's just a statement. I've heard Father Desbois speak 3 times, and it's really important to understand that there are a lot of agendas that could be covered. He has a very small group of people, a very focused, narrowly, laser-like focus on trying to save history that has never been recorded, to preserve things that are going to be so important to future generations. And so while we all would like to have other parts of our agendas filled, he knows exactly what he needs to do and what he needs to gather, and he can't cover what we'd all love him to cover because he just doesn't have the resources. So I celebrate what you're doing, Father Desbois, and I hope you continue.
Thank you. We have a website called Yara Dinonum, the same name of organization. You can find it very easily. If you give your email, you receive a report of each travel after travel, as a newsletter on your email. And you have news, I would say, from the day.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you join me once again in thanking Father Desbois for his heroic work